Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our virtual MBEIC Town Hall meeting focused on reopening for business. Where in part one, we're discussing making the COVID-19 business pivot. And in part two, we're having a fireside chat focused on navigating social change in business. Our moderators for this morning's sessions are Dr. Kenston Griffin with Dream Builders Communication and Lasagna Berry with McPherson Berry and Associates, and they will introduce our guest panelists for the day. Just a few housekeeping notes for you. All of our audience participant lines are automatically muted. However, you can submit questions throughout the sessions today using the question box feature on the GoToWebinar dashboard on your screen. Also, today's session is being recorded and will be available for you to review later and share with your colleagues. You will be able to access the recording from the CVMSDC website at cvmsdc.org/webinars. Now, I am very pleased to turn the program over to our CVMSDC MBEIC Chair, Lasagna Berry. Good morning, Lasagna.
Good morning, VK, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I want to officially welcome all of our MBEs and corporate members to our virtual town hall. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm proud to represent you at the national level as your MBEIC chair. Today, I wanted to start the session off by giving you some updates and information as to what's happening in the network. So at a national level, get your pen and your paper ready. I want you taking some notes, so there's some key information from a business perspective and opportunities. So the first thing I want to tell you, I don't know how often you're visiting the nmsdc.org website. I recommend you check it out at least once a week. The first thing I want to share with you as an event and opportunity is the Virtual Biz Connect Matchmakers. It started on last Thursday. So every Thursday up until September 18th, every certified MBE, if you're certified through CVMSDC or with NMSDC affiliate councils, you have an opportunity to participate in a free matchmaker with corporate members who are represented and participating in the Biz Connect. So don't delay, go ahead on register, get your profile set up so you'll be ready for this upcoming Thursday. Again, that's from August 13th through September 18th. That's an opportunity for you to meet and start building those relationships that can lead to business opportunities. The second thing is to let you know that the NMSDC conference, the national conference that was scheduled to be in Phoenix, will be virtual. I wanted to give you some save the dates. By the end of the month, you can look forward to receiving more information as far as the dates and times and sessions. So October 25th through the 28th will be the time for the conference. And then every year at the national conference, the MBEs and your MBEIC representatives nationally from all over the country put together an event the day before the conference just for you, our MBEs. We hear you, we give you the things and the resources and things that you share with us and the opportunities that you're looking for as far as your business is concerned. So we do that through what we call the Opportunity Accelerator. We're looking to have that on October 21st through the 22nd. That's the Opportunity Accelerator. So put that on your calendar, do your save to date, more information to come on that as well. Then I wanted to make you aware of In This Together. That's a campaign that's been started by the national office to support the MBE community, thanks to our corporate members. So we know things are changing right now. There are a lot of tightness happening as far as financial. We're all looking for opportunities. And so this In This Together campaign was created to support the MBEs. So if you are having financial difficulties within your company, there are grants that are available to help you with your recertification. As MBEIC chair nationally, I'm also serving on various committees. One of those committees supports this In This Together campaign. So we're currently putting together a grant that will support your efforts in staying in business and helping you through this financial challenge right now. So with that being said, later on, you're going to be receiving information. So make sure you're watching your emails, checking your newsletter, checking the various websites, cvmsdc.org, as well as nmsdc.org for these grant opportunities. Just to let you know, we're looking at what are some of the target areas and who's the population that really could be supported during this time. So we're even looking at putting special efforts and supporting Class 1 and Class 2 MBEs. And when we say classes, a lot of you may not know this, but there are 4 to 5 different classes of MBE structure within the organization. And if you attend our event in December, you're going to learn more about that as well. The last thing I want to share with you is the efforts that are being made to increase corporate spend with minority business enterprises. There's been a lot of talk, and of course, we are hearing it both locally in our ring meetings, in which I hope you are attending your local ring meetings to find out and get continuous updates every month. But we're focusing on how is it that we can position ourselves for more opportunities. So if you stay on to the very end, you're going to hear during the Fireside Chat, where we're going to be talking with some corporate members and learning more about this corporate spend initiative. So let's talk about what's happening a little bit more locally. So I wanted to remind you, if you are not attending the ring meetings, those are the meetings that are happening at a local level based on the region, because we have a large territory, South Carolina, North Carolina, and the southern part of Virginia. Get active. All of the ring meetings right now are virtual. So you are allowed as a certified MBE with CVMSDC, you are allowed to attend any ring meeting in the region. So this is the opportunity for you to get connected, meet other MBEs, as well as meeting the corporate members that are represented across our regional council. We have also locally developmental opportunities. If you're doing this time, it's a great time to develop as an executive. I can speak firsthand to all of these programs that are listed here on the screen. I have attended the Sunoco Leadership Program as well as the University of Richmond. I tell this all the time, your organization is only going to be as great as the people who support it every day, and that starts from the top. You may know your craft, you may know your service, but as business owners, we cannot put aside our professional development, which will help our business in turn. So to make this whole process easier, please make sure you visit the CVMSDC website. There's one application to apply for both programs, and there are scholarships that are available. So don't hesitate. The application process is open now. We need you to be applying as soon as possible. Put that on your to-do list to apply for the Sunoco Leadership Program or the University of Richmond program by completing one application that's on the cvmsdc.org website. Last but not least, I am so excited the fact that we started this initiative, your MBEIC chairs, and this is more than just me. I want to thank all of my MBEIC chairs that are represented in all the rings. You're going to hear from many of them today, but we started a new initiative, an award category to put the focus on us as MBEs. And what do I mean by that? The MBE to MBE spend. A lot of the times we're looking for opportunities with corporations, which is great. Federal government, which is great, state and local government, which is great, but we're missing opportunities by not looking at how do we do business with one another. And so we're encouraging more of that with the MBE to MBE award. If you're working with certified or MBEs, please make sure you apply for those various award categories and let us know that this is an opportunity to grow your business. So that's it. That's all the MBE updates and information that I have at the time, but things are constantly changing on a rapid pace. So please make sure that you're looking out for the CVMSDC newsletter. One goes out on Monday morning, Wednesday morning, and Friday morning. Make sure you have it and red flag it so that you are looking at it and seeing all the various opportunities, the changes that are happening, and then make sure you get connected so that you're getting the information that you need to be successful. All right, so let's get started. We are ready now for our first panel. So without further ado, I would like to have Dr. Kinston Griffin join me. He is the moderator and also the president, the CEO, the doctor of Dream Builders Communication.
Wow. Well, first and foremost, good morning, everybody. An unknown author once stated, never stop a task until it's done. Be your labors great or small, do it well or don't even think about doing it at all. And that's what Miss Lasagna Berry just did. She did it well, and she always does it well. So if you don't mind, I know you can't do it in a normal setting, but we're going to give her a virtual hand clap because she is leading not only the North Carolina, the South Carolina, the southern part of Virginia, but she is leading and she's doing some incredible things in her business. So if you're ever looking for anyone to provide strategic planning, HR services, training and development, look no further, because she is the firm with her team members is the ones that can actually do it and do it at a very high and professional level. So I have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce not one, not two, not three, but 4 top tier leaders. And when we say 4 top tier leaders, these are leaders in their own right. When I say in their own right, they're industry leaders. They're the individuals that are blowing and growing and making things happen. So I won't steal any of their thunder. We're going to go as the list shows itself. We're going to first start with Marketing Resource Solutions President and CEO, Mr. Larry Fairley. Larry, please introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, good morning, my fellow MBEs. I would say it's great to see you, but we can't see you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Larry Fairley. I'm the president, CEO, and founder of Marketing Resource Solutions, based in Jamestown, North Carolina, right outside of Greensboro. We're a full-service advertising agency. We develop, manage, and deliver comprehensive marketing communication strategies to support our clients' business objectives. We're celebrating our 20th year in business, and during this pandemic, it has indeed been challenging. I represent the triad as the MBEIC chair, and as a result, sit on the board of directors of the Carolinas, Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council. Look forward to the interaction with you today.
Awesome job. So Larry, as always, you bring the knowledge, the wisdom, and the thunder. Next, I'm super excited to represent and present to some and introduce to others the lady that's holding it down for every single one, KRJ Consulting. Miss Karen Jenkins, the floor is yours.
Good morning. I am so honored to be here today. I'm Karen Jenkins, based in Columbia, South Carolina. I own KRJ Consulting. We've been in business for 12 years and have been associated with the Carolina Virginia Supply Diversity Council off and on for almost, oh gosh, I think about 7 or 8 years now. We provide workforce development and provide a variety of solutions in helping our businesses develop employee confidence and capacity so that they can effectively manage crisis and change. It's very important now, especially with everything else that we're going through. So we're just honored to be here, honored to be associated with this wonderful organization, and I look forward to some wonderful conversation and dialogue this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you, Karen. Informatic Concepts. I call him the man, the myth, the legend, my little brother, panelist extraordinaire and leader throughout the country, Mr. Derek Davis. The floor is yours.
And so you give a intro like Steve Harvey on the Kings of Comedy, man. That's have no more to say. No, but good morning, everyone. I'm Derek Davis with Informatic Concepts. We're a full-service staffing company headquartered here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We take a client-centric approach to finding the perfect talent for your workplace. So we've been in business for 8 years, and in that time, we've been able to really grow our business and learn a lot of valuable tools through our affiliation with the council. So I'm looking forward to a robust conversation, and it's an honor and a pleasure to serve on this panel with my esteemed cohorts.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Derek. Some may call it Jordan Construction Company. Some may call it JJ. Some may call him the man himself, Mr. James Jordan with Jordan Construction Company. James, I am so excited. I know you're not Michael Jordan, but it's time for you to dunk and tell everybody what it is that you do in your company and all the great things you've done across the country.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to everyone. Again, James Jordan, reporting to you live from beautiful Greenville, South Carolina. If you haven't visited Greenville, I encourage you to visit. Please reach out to us. If we do, we have a fantastic city here that we would love to show you around. JCC General Contractors, we've been in business now for 12 years. We're 8A certified, we're HubZone certified. About 50% of what we do is in the federal space, another 30% in healthcare, and then the balance in commercial construction. We also have a development arm on the company, so very proud of some of the work that we're doing throughout the region and in this community. Thank you, and look forward to the interaction as well.
Awesome. Well, leaders that are out there today, it is an honor for us to bring to you some of the strategies and practices that not one of us, but all 4 of us have been utilizing across the country. I think it's probably important for me to tell you a little bit about our firm, Dream Builders Communication. We're an assessment, training, and development firm headquartered in Huntersville, which is about 15 minutes north of Charlotte, North Carolina, where we provide assessments, training, development, process improvement, and organizational assessments. Why is that so critically important? Because so many people desire for us to fix something, but they don't desire for us to assess something. You have to know where you're going through so you know what you'll get to. So that's a little bit about who Dream Builders is. And now the time has come for us to immediately go in for the next 20 to 30 minutes and share some strategies that we've looked at that hopefully can assist not just MBEs, but corporations as well. So with the panel today, we're going to answer some of these questions that have already been posed to us. And the first question starts out is, how do we safely open in a state of civil unrest as well as a pandemic? How do we safely open or reopen in this case? So panelists, please share your feedback as it relates to how your companies have safely reopened.
Well, first, I would say carefully, okay? First and foremost, there are numerous guidelines from whether it be CDC, state, county, city guidelines, and clearly you have to understand at a basic level the state, county, and city. From a broader perspective, I mean, clearly it's about wearing masks, it's about social distancing, washing hands, daily temperature checks are many of the things that are components of reopening. The challenge that we face is that, you know, we have long tenured employees, and so we're very comfortable with each other. And when you're very comfortable with each other, you have a tendency to let your guard down. I would just strongly encourage, don't let your guard down, even when you're in your workplace. Continue to social distance, wear masks when required, because, you know, COVID-19, it only takes one slip up, okay, for you to contract the disease. And so you got to stay vigilant, okay, during these times.
Derek, were you going to add something to that?
Yeah, I was going to say, for us, we're going to follow the CDC guidelines, but more importantly, we were able to take this time off to really work on our business. I had the privilege of attending the University of Richmond's leadership, as well as the NOCO, both put on by the council leadership program, and gave us the opportunity to really work on our business and build our infrastructure. So when we do open up, we're bigger and better, and we're understanding our customers and our offerings a lot better to position ourselves to thrive and win at the end of it.
Awesome. Karen and Jay, go ahead, Karen.
Thank you. We were a little bit different in that we didn't actually stop. We transitioned. So we transitioned from a model of working in the office with our clients to working teleworking. So for us, the main component in the beginning was communication, because this was a shift and a change for our employees, and everybody doesn't work well from home. So we had to actually go in and give them tips and skills of what is the most effective way to work from home. And now that we're transitioning back to the office, they have a lot of concerns and fears. So making sure that we have a viable plan, and a lot of our planning is in conjunction with our clients because they're actually working on our client site, but making sure that we're taking account for those employees that are at risk. They may not follow the same pattern. They may work teleworking a little longer than the rest of the plan or the people. So some of our people were staggering. So maybe you're not coming in 100%. Maybe we have you coming in 2 days and working from home 3 days, because we want to make sure that we're in a position where we don't have a lot of space in every location. So we want to have social distancing. And in order to do that, we have to make sure that everybody is in the office at the same time. But it all comes from the leadership. We can't go silent right now. And the less we communicate, the worse it's going to be. So in developing a plan, and then communicating that plan and reiterating that plan, they need to hear from us weekly, if not more often, as far as what we're doing and how we're doing it, and make sure that they know that if they have some concerns, that they can come back and speak with us, and that we'll address them immediately.
I would echo some of those thoughts as well. On the construction sites, a lot of them were deemed essential that we were working on, so we weren't able to shut down. As Karen mentioned, we had to transition or pivot to. So what that meant for us was trying to get people in the most comfortable position to be able to work remotely. So we set up and bought new laptops and helped people set up workstations to be able to comfortably work from home, send supplies home with some individuals as needed. This is a very, very dynamic business climate, and new information, it seems like, is coming out weekly, if not daily. So Karen, to your point again, we increased communication. We used to have Monday update meetings. Now we have Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning update meetings, just to make sure that we're maintaining some of that cohesiveness, still keeping everybody engaged. The new challenge that we're facing, candidly, is now with school starting, we have some folks that have school-age children. So again, I think from a leadership standpoint, that big word, empathy, is something that we're exercising and trying to make sure that we're being as accommodating as possible, but understanding, and everybody on the team is very mature, that we still have a business to run. But we want you to be here. We need you to be comfortable. But then we also need to take care of that personal piece as much as we can as well, or at least give you the room to be able to address those things that you need to in your family life.
Awesome. So for everyone out there, and I want to make sure, because it is virtual, the question was, how do we open up safely? Here were some tips that our esteemed panelists provided. Number one is you've got to be safe. Number two is planning. Planning is so critically important. Number three, follow your CDC guidelines. Number four, leadership is everything. It starts with us as leaders. Number five, increasing communication. I tell people, under promise and over deliver. Increase communication. James said they went from a meeting a week to 3 times a week. And then we've got to make sure that we let our team members know that we care about their professional lives, what's going on with their family, their children, their grandparents. So those are very, very critical tips, 6 keys right there to how we can open up safely. So Karen, I want you to represent this question and start us out. The question is, how do we show back up to do business? Because things are different now. So how would you suggest that we show back up to do business? And then James, if you'll follow through from there, and then we may go to our next question.
It really is going to depend on the industry. You have James, who's in construction. I'm in an office environment, but I also have people that are at my client site. So the way that we show up differently is being agile, being ready and willing to do things differently. I think we have to set proper expectations. The expectation that we're going back to what we used to be is null and void right now. And if we set the proper expectation for ourselves and for our team members, knowing that we might have a plan today and we're going into this thing thinking we're going to go down this road, we have to be agile enough to recognize, well, okay, when we get in there, we got a big, lump in the road, and we have to adjust. And it's when we don't make ourselves, I guess, agile enough or flexible enough to deal with the changes is when the stress comes about. So set the precedent with your team. Hey guys, this is what we're going to do. This is our plan, but we may have to shift on the drop of a dime and make sure that they're willing and able to come along with us through our leadership.
Good, very nice.
I completely agree again. I think we show up different in that there does have to be some tolerance for what those differences are going to be. On Zoom calls now, as professionals we try to be, there may be dogs in the background barking and kids running around the desk, and it's just a new normal that we're going to have to get prepared for. So I agree, again, to be redundant, that talking about these things and helping people work through some of these differences are going to be the key. I also think one more key, though, as you mentioned before, is just continuing to provide the information as it comes out about what's going on. And I'm just reminded of the greatest quarterback of all time, Brett Favre, and how he did an excellent job of always keeping his team just cool, calm, and collected, and they could go out and perform in some very big moments.
Gotcha. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So once again, the question is, how do we make sure we show back up at work? And then you set proper expectations, you shift to the new norm, and you do what Brent Favre did. But I believe that those are critical. So Larry, you've been doing this 20 years, and I have personally known you and respect you. And if anybody ever desires to really get into the space of letting an organization provide you marketing services, this guy knows how to do it. So Larry, here's a question. How to prepare for a different type of sales force? So in other words, if we're in a different space now, how do we sell and tell our businesses differently? And Larry, after you answer that, Derek, you're doing some very unique things. I'd love to hear how you've done it as well.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate that. You know, what we've tried to do is make sure that we're ready, even more prepared for the digital environment. Okay, and I would recommend to all businesses that you strengthen your digital platforms. You've got to make sure your websites are really, really tight. Okay, you've got to be more involved in digital marketing. Okay, and social media, and in those regards. Equally as important, you know, clearly our business suffered a significant decline in revenues during this period of time. But we took that opportunity to reevaluate our business. I attended Tuck School of Business, the executive education program, both of the programs there. And earlier this week, I spoke with Professor Lynn Greenhoff there, who heads up that program. Lynn shared with me that that 40% of MBEs will go out of business during this time, 40%. And so what we've done is to really look at how we fit within a client's value chain, okay? And there's an exercise called the value chain analysis, okay? As to understand where value is delivered along the chain. So in that, I would strongly recommend if MBEs, and we're going to have some additional virtual town halls, and we can talk about this a little deeper, but that exercise is really, really important because in speaking with Lynn, he said, this is what you want to do. You want to play a significant role in your customer's value chain. And I said, so what does that mean? He says, you want to play a role that if your business were not part of the value chain, it would keep an executive up at night. Okay. And so we've done those types of things, and we've taken this time and really to re-engineer our business. We're really excited. You know, it's tough to lose the amount of revenue that we lost, but we just didn't lay there. We got up, we began to work on our business. And we're really excited because think about it. You got 40% of MBEs are going to be going out of business. And during this time of civil unrest and the demands that are being, and social change, the demands that are being made on our corporations are going to provide for opportunities for MBEs. So just be prepared for those opportunities. And again, selling in this time is more digital. So you really got to look at all of your digital platforms.
Derek.
Well, for us, we work in staffing. So once COVID hit, we lost a lot of our employees. So, but the silver lining in all this is that we were able to finally work on our business. Like Larry, I'm a product of Tuck. Again, I'm a product of University of Richmond and various programs. So I learned all this information, but business was going so good and so much that I never had a time to really implement any of it. So during this time, we really got the things slowed down. And once we got our head around where we were able to really work on the business. One thing we really did during this time was reach out to our current customers. I have a saying in-house is that your customers will tell you who you are. So we were able to really find out where our value really was, because a lot of times the value you think you're providing, it may not go over and they may see a whole nother set of values that you're providing. So it's been very, very helpful during this time to work on the business, to really elevate our offerings, and to really contact our customers and learn what they needed. We've also been able to engage some customers that we weren't dealing with in the past. And that was a good thing because there's so much free time around now. Nobody's doing anything. So everybody's just like phone calls. It's a very passive sale, and you can really chat. It's not a hard sale. I'm trying to close you. It's more I'm asking questions. I'm a big proponent of Google alerts. When there's something going on with a particular company or in that industry, I'm able to call that customer up or email them and get their take on it. So it's more of a passive sale, because for me to go out and sell somebody, in employment during this time shows very, very low emotional intelligence, and they won't want to deal with me at all. We found to kind of put a button on it. We found out who we were, and then we found passive ways to engage customers that we're in pursuit of.
That's good.
Wow, that's huge.
Very good.
I think when you look at that question, how do we sell differently? Larry talked about the digital marketing component. Derek really talked about how do you inspect what you expect internally? How do you inspect what you expect internally? So James, we're coming towards around the bend. And if you all have any questions, now's the time to start submitting your questions to our esteemed panelists. We only have 2 more questions because this group is so awesome. We had 8 questions. This group is so awesome. They answered all 8 questions already. So, but James, here's a question for you, and this is the last one I think that we have. So what is the way that you're reaching your clients now? Larry talked about a little bit of the digital component, but add to that, how are you reaching your clients now?
Still a big fan of reaching out through digitally through email. But Derek made a great point, and I think that this is an opportunity for us to show how sensitive we can be to our customers and our clients' needs. So reaching out via phone and showing that soft side as well, that we do care, I think is very important for us. One of the things that we've tried to do, Larry, to your point, to add value, is to demonstrate how our service can help people through COVID. So whether it's renovating commercial spaces now to be more friendly to people during COVID and give you the social space that you need. On the facility side, doing decontamination cleaning and disinfecting and showing, just some of the things that we've learned through this process and some certifications that we've received through this process, just how we can add value in some of those ways. So I think leading off with the fact of just checking on you and asking Mr. Griffin, how are you? How's your family? Is everybody well? And meaning it genuinely caring, and then offering our assistance next. And it doesn't feel, I think, as silly, but it gives us opportunity to make a connection with our customers who we care about.
Nice. Karen, anything you want to add to that?
I'm with James, back to the old school, the basic phone call. When we deal with our clients, we like to have relationships. I don't really deal with transactional clients because that's just here's something that I offer and you go get it. So in building that relationship, the first thing we did was we did health and welfare calls. As many calls as we made to our employees, we made calls to our clients as well. We believe in pull marketing versus push marketing, kind of that value chain example that Larry gave. When you're that valuable to your client, they want you. And you don't have to do a lot of salesy stuff where you're actually showing them this is the solution, or this is the problem that you have, and this is how I can provide that solution, and being a part of their overall mission. So communication is the thing that's going to get us on all rounds, whether you're talking about yourself, whether you're talking about your family, whether you're talking about your staff, and specifically whether you're talking about your clients. It's really about making that connection and letting them know that you're here and letting them know, hey, I want to add value. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as sending them something, right? An article. I had a client that we're courting, and we met with them during the COVID, and when COVID happened, you know, we found an article, or I found an article that I thought was really good on how to communicate to your staff. And we actually took that and sent it to them, say, hey, look, I know you're probably going through some things right now. This may be a good article or a good reference that you can use. So just adding value to your clients and not expecting anything in return right now. It's just planting those seeds or sowing those seeds.
That's good. Absolutely.
So Karen, here's something. I'm supposed to be the panelist. I'm supposed to lead this group. I'm taking notes and stole some of your stuff right here. So that was really good. So, you know, the question is, you know, what are we doing to reach our clients? And one of the things is adding value to help. Friendly check-ins, not always trying to sell, but showing that you care. How to fit in their value chain was mentioned earlier. I love that part. Relationships, and the one that just really was like the eye opener was sending them articles that support their bottom line. It might not be an article that is always talking about construction. It could be talking about caring. It might not be talking about staffing. It could be talking about how do you support individuals. So in this support methodology, Mr. Derek Davis, here's the question for you. What's a good resource that you've found to navigate through COVID? And when we say this, professionally and personally, what are some good resources that you found to navigate through COVID?
A strong network. I had a very strong network, because whatever you were before COVID, you really are, and it's amplified. So before COVID, I had a really, really strong network, and I've been able to lean on them. And a lot of my friendships I've met are through the CVMSDC. So every Friday I have a call, check-in with a couple of friends from the council and of other business owners, and we throw ideas around with each other. So you know you're not alone in this COVID thing. See, COVID is almost like 5 stages of grief. You have your denial, your unbelief, and then you kind of get your head around it. And I got through it with my friends. That old saying, you get by with a little help from your friends. That's what helped me through everything, because it's good to have a strong network to bounce ideas off it. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm in the wrong room, and I'm around some pretty smart people, and we're able to figure this stuff out.
Karen, I saw you smiling when he said you get by with a little help from your friends. So we're going to pivot a few of our questions a little bit. Obviously, the pandemic is real and serious, but I would love to hear from each and every one of you with this question. As we represent the African American race, but we represent minorities as a whole, and I don't speak for every Black man or African American man because my experiences are different. But, you know, how do we have productive, safe conversations in the workspace around race at the corporate level? I'm gonna ask that question again. How do we have productive, safe conversations? The key word is safe. We always talk about, ooh, this is a safe space. And you're thinking like, yeah, right. If I say this, I won't get that promotion. And that's what people are thinking at times. But how do we produce a safe conversation as it relates to race if we're in the corporate side? Because we've talked a lot from the EBE perspective, but how do we create that? So Larry, I'll start with you, but I'd love for each and every one of you, give me about 1 minute as it relates to how can we help our corporations in this space?
Yeah, and that's an excellent question, and it's a very difficult process. Let's just be honest with it, okay? You know, we as minority business owners, okay, represent more than just ourselves. We represent our communities as well, and so our obligation is broader, bigger, and broader than just ourselves. So we're advocating not only on behalf of our businesses, okay, we're advocating on behalf of other minority-owned businesses and minority communities. You know, corporate America, as we talk about it candidly, you know, at the higher echelons, is still a predominantly white institution, and sometimes having those difficult conversations is very difficult and uncomfortable for them. One of the things that I found during this period of time, particularly during the civil unrest, was that many of our corporations were still relying on their white PR agencies to help them with matters and issues associated with race. So what we did is we interjected ourselves in it, and what we tried to do is to just make sure that, like the other conversations, whether it be articles or whether it be just having a basis to have executives have a means by which they could feel comfortable, creating the right environment for them to feel comfortable about having that conversation, and taking that and not creating an environment for them that made them uncomfortable. They're going to be uncomfortable with the conversation to start with. Your job is to help them navigate through it. So it is a combination of articles, it's a combination of giving them best practices, and it's basically creating an environment that where the dialogue can persist.
Karen, I want to save you for last because I want you to bring it home. D&D Enterprises or J&J Enterprises is kind of unique. D&D, J&J. Either one of you guys.
All right, I'll go. I think we find ourselves in a funny situation, precarious situation. I'm trying to do business with this corporate, so I don't want to push them so much and I'm not getting any business. But it has to be said. But I think what has to happen, it has to go from the top down. If the leadership is truly about that work, it's passed down through the corporation. But if they're not, nothing's going to change. That's simple in fact. I mean, we can throw out money, we can throw out lip service, but if it's a true cultural change, it won't be hard at all, because the ground is set for that kind of conversation. But if the leadership doesn't, it's not going to change. Nothing's going to happen. So
Nice.
I'm an optimistic pessimist, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. All I know is I'm trying to navigate the waters so I can do business in these institutions. So
Absolutely.
so that's it. That's all I got on that one.
Very good. I think that for us as a company, celebrating, exercising diversity and inclusion is extremely important. Obvious for us to be able to get opportunities in the corporate side. We ask for them to have some of the same core values that we have. But one of the things that we've been doing is just trying to celebrate more our diverse team, doing highlights on different individuals and really demonstrating that we practice what we preach, right? So I think that's important, and that's shown in our staff, it's shown in our brand message, it's shown when we go out into the community. I think another extremely important piece right now, and this can actually tie back to the COVID conversation as well, is for us to be out in the community reinforcing that message. So there are a lot of people in the community right now that are hurting, and there's a lot of opportunities for us to help and get involved in various nonprofits that support certain social issues, and just really be there on the front lines, showing that we believe in this message. I think that, to Larry's point, you do want folk to feel comfortable being able to have a dialogue. But at the same time, at the end of the day, a lot of it for us is about the bottom line and still being able to find a way for race is something we've been dealing with forever, right? So how do we coexist and still get the job done? I think it's just extremely important. But folks still not feeling like they need to walk around on eggshells, and being able to have some of those conversations, but taking action and moving forward after those conversations. Where do we go from here?
Karen.
Okay. The reality is that everybody on this call, on the Zoom call, and probably the majority of the audience, we get it. We've been there, we've done that. We know our plight. The challenge is that there are people that don't look like us, that don't understand or know the plight. So it's not really about us understanding and having dialogue. It's really more about the people that we have the dialogue with that don't look like us. We've been saying this stuff forever. And what happens is we've gone through the COVID crisis. Now we have a social justice crisis, and we call it the Great Pause. And because of that great pause, and I believe God has a hand in everything, the country, the world had to come to a complete stop, because George Floyd, bless his heart, and we're so prayerful for his family, and that should not have happened. But he's not the first, and he may not be the last. But because we were in the middle of the great pause, everybody in the country saw it. Everybody in the world saw it. You could not go through your life of your busyness and ignore it or not really pay attention to it. So because of that, I had the opportunity. I'm in the WPO group, which is Women's Presidents Organization, and also in the business group. Business group, I'm the only female and the only African American. In the WPO group, I'm one of 2 African American females. And we had conversations around the social injustice and what was going on. The first conversation I had, I came to the meeting late, and I was the only African American that made the meeting that day. And it was so apparent that it was uncomfortable. It was so apparent. When we had the conversation in the Vistage group, so apparent. I mean, because keep in mind, I'm the only female and the only African American. And the reality from it, I have no problem talking about it. I mean, I need them to understand, here's the plight, here's what you need to understand. It's really just a perspective, because white privilege is white privilege because they didn't have to go through stuff, so they don't see things from our perspective. Our challenge is that because we're in silos just like they are, they don't have a connection. They don't know anything about us other than what they see on television, what they see in radio, what they see in the movies. And what do they see? Because we don't have a lot of Black filmmakers, right? So what they see is the guy that, with the dreads is killing somebody, or somebody that's on drugs. What we have to do is we have to connect with other people that don't look like us to show them that there's other things out there in our culture that's not what they see on television. So because I recognize the level of discomfort, I reached out to my WPO members, I reached out to my business members, and some other, I'm gonna call it non-African American client connections or colleagues that I had. And we hosted about 3 weeks ago what I call a crisis to confidence safe space roundtable. And it was an opportunity for them to come in, and it was one night from 6 to 8, just to have some open and honest dialogue. We started with this, guys. And if y'all know Brenda Anderson, she was on the call with me. We did it together. The Constitution. It's a little, if you don't have it, get it. I said at Amazon. But the Constitution gives a historical perspective on our plight, all the way up to the current time. And Brenda talked a lot about that. And then we talked about how, because we needed to know how we got here. And a lot of non-African Americans didn't understand that. One lady was like, oh my gosh, we failed as a country. She's a white woman. And she was shocked at what she had heard. So we gave them the right space to have the conversation, to know what they could ask and what they could not ask. And you say, well, Karen, why are you doing that? Because we can't do it. We've been talking about this forever. It's really about getting them to do it on our behalf. So I'm telling them, let me help you help us. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable, but if I can give you a platform for you to say, hey, let me test this out, and let me talk about this, and let me do this, so that when they go out into the world and they're with their other counterparts that don't look like us, because I share it with them, they don't typically say it in our face, right? Unless something wrong with them. But if they say it in front of you and you say nothing, you're giving them permission. You're validating what they're saying. So we're giving them the ammunition that they need to go and help us. So if I had to say anything to anybody on this phone, get out of your bubble. Go and find somebody that doesn't look like you. Build a relationship with them. Let them see. When I was 20 years old, I had a new boss. She came down. She did not know that African Americans had the same socioeconomic classes that white people do. She thought it was Sanford and Son and Good Times, because that's all she knew. She was from Greenville. So we have to help them help us by getting out of our bubbles as leaders and making connections and building relationships with them, so that they can see we're people too.
Yeah.
People too.
That's
I'm
awesome.
sorry, I get a little passionate about
No. James, go
Good
right
point.
ahead.
It's very good, very good. If I could just offer up one more thing, and I know we're on a business call, but I think that it's still very important to just remain prayerful and watchful during this time. Now, I think that this conversation has stirred up a lot of people's spirit. And so I get calls, and one of the things I've been trying to get better at during those calls is not necessarily having to have a response, But for some people that are just calling and they have these things on their heart and you know, want to talk about them, just listening. Because, you know, as we've been dealing with certain things, there's certain other people now that are waking up that are trying to rationalize and process the things that we've been dealing with. So listening, I think, is just extremely important during these times as well.
And one final thing, there are a lot of resources out there to help bridge these conversations. Okay, one of our clients is the General Commission on Religion and Race. Go check them out, www.gcorr.com, and check them out. There's a series called Vital Conversations. It includes conversations of videos from some renowned presenters on white privilege, and these are some resources, okay, that can help bridge these conversations. And it's a white person talking, you know, to their fellow, you know, white counterparts, okay, about what white privilege is, okay. These are the kind of resources that you can bring to bear to really help get the conversation off the ground and create a greater level of comfort. Go check out the General Commission on Religion and Race.
One more to offer up to in our area.
I'm at this point.
Nika White.
I'm at this point.
Another great one, NIK White, and she's a fantastic facilitator as well on diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, I think a good point is to find where you could be an advocate. It's easy to be an armchair activist or a revolutionary. You need to find where you fit and what you can do to make things better. I've been able to volunteer on a lot of committees and programs that help further minority business. That's my passion. So instead of kind of complaining about it and just sitting back or whatnot, I put action to it. And that's where I found that if you can take what you're passionate about and just your little sphere of influence, put something to it in that way and make your mark that way.
Yeah. So summing that up, you guys did an awesome job. You know, when we start talking about creating a safe space for race and for our corporations, we're here to help. It starts at the top. We got to celebrate more. We've got to have more courageous conversations, the willingness to understand. Karen, it's interesting that you made the statement when all this began to happen. I literally, personally, would sit down with two of my white friends at one time, and I personally went to them. And I say this humbly, as a certified diversity and inclusion practicing firm, every certification that we have on the wall never told us to go to them. We physically went to them. And when I say them, anybody that would want to listen, as I listened to my Caucasian friend, social distance, but it was on the back porch. It was inside of the house. You couldn't really do a Starbucks because you couldn't do that. And it was amazing because, and here's the key, I had relationships with my Caucasian friends. They could ask me questions that maybe in a space like this, they couldn't ask, which is similar to what you did. One in particular was my medical doctor. And he said, I already knew the historical plight of high blood pressure and all those type of things. But when we pulled out the Constitution and we started allowing him to see it and read and begin to look at different foods, he was like, all the degrees I have on the wall, now I know why African Americans have a history of suffering from high blood pressure based on what you were eating, because that was the only thing you had to eat. Right. And it was amazing, just from a medical practitioner at one of the largest healthcare centers in the entire Southeast, he started looking at what I was telling individuals was to start eating a different way. He said what he needed to understand is what was in their table, their cabinet, their cupboard to eat. Because it's easy to tell me to eat healthy, but we know that it costs $8 to eat healthy versus the Go Pack, maybe $2.99. So it's amazing at how if we put ourselves in a position that we may have to be the ones to reach out in a non-threatening manner, to have conversations with relationships with individuals that we already know. And then to your point, Karen, Now you have advocates in the game and not people just sitting at
That's
the
good.
game. I'm gonna say that again. Advocates not just in the game, but advocates at the game. Because when you have advocates that are physically in the game, at the game means you bought a ticket. In the game means you're playing.
You
So
know,
last-
I'm
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
I'll add, one of the things that I recommend to my non-African American colleagues is to go watch 13th. It's a documentary on Netflix, and if you guys have not seen it, please go see it or go look at it, and then come back and share that as a resource with your non-African American colleagues. What the Health is also another documentary that you might want to share with your doctor, Dr. Griffin, because information is good, and they use knowledge and power. So really the application of knowledge, that's power. And I'll also say, if you guys have anyone, we're going to host a part 2 to our Safe Roundtable, and it was by invitation only. But we're going to host a second round and it's only for non-African Americans to have that safe space next Tuesday from 6 to 8. So if y'all have anybody that you think might be interested, send me their information and we'll be happy to invite them in. But it's going to be us reaching out and diversifying our base. And I'm not saying go out and have a race conversation with every white person you know. What I'm saying is build a relationship with white people, with non-African American people, and have a base of people that are your resources, that you have as a colleague or somebody. So you're learning from their culture, but they're learning from ours. And if we don't show them who we are, then we are defined by media. And I refuse to be defined by media.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So Larry, we're going to start with you. We got 30 seconds, and this is the privilege of being a panelist. Tell us why we should do business with your company. You got 30 seconds.
We absolutely are fantastic in our discipline of marketing and advertising. We specialize in multicultural marketing, diversity and inclusion. We specialize in healthcare marketing and faith-based marketing. We've got 20 years of experience. We understand the value chain of our industry. We understand how to advance corporations' business objectives. Our job is not to do splashy ads, but to advance the corporations' and business objectives. That is to say, is to take the marketing and advertising discipline and help the corporation meet its objectives. We understand the difference between strategy and execution.
Absolutely. Derek, 30 seconds.
Okay, simply put, our business acumen coupled with our emotional intelligence gives us the ability to find the perfect talent for your workplace.
JJ, 30 seconds.
We are an expert in our niches, government, healthcare, and in the commercial space and construction. We care about our clients. We care about our clients' clients. And your project is the most important project to us. Our guys have, and our team has the right bedside manner and attitude. Will bring the professionalism to your project. And to us, construction is like art. We love seeing a beautiful project get completed. Thank y'all very much.
James, you know, I don't need anything built right now, but I just like you smiling and talking to us. Karen, tell us 30 seconds, and then we're going to open up for attendees to ask questions. But Karen, 30 seconds, and as we're talking about the race and all the things, this is what one of our colleagues, because I got a teleprompter, I got a video group, but one of our colleagues sent a text message that said, call people in, don't call them out. Ron Harvey, call people in, don't call them out. Ron Harvey, South Carolina, Columbia, call people in, don't call them out. Karen, tell us, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. You want to do business with us because we are a relational business. We believe in uplifting people and helping your employees realize their full potential. Because I like to say people are responsible for the energy they bring in the room, and we show people how to leverage their energy and the energy of their entire team to create synergy to reach and meet any mission and goal that you may have.
Awesome. So we have some questions that may be coming in, and VK, I think that you may be helping guide us through the questions that may have come from the attendees. And first and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you as panelists for taking your time this morning. So virtual hand claps in that capacity. But if we have any questions that are out there, we'd love to take maybe 2 minutes to answer any of the questions.
Okay, yes, sir, we do. The first question is, how did you and your team develop strategies for the future, for example, the next 3 years, based on the uncertainty of the current situation?
Eric Davis, I know you've been doing some of that.
Yes. Just build it as if you think it's coming back. It's really no different. You just gotta go and just make adjustments. We look at our planning as schedules as a breathing document, and you make changes along the way. We all know that there's a COVID-19 monster in the room that you have to account for, but you pretty much just do business ahead, and you get your intel by reading articles, by talking to your customers, by knowing your market. That's when having relationships with your customers are important. For us, we have 3 different relationships. We have a relationship in the C-suite. That way we know the overall vision and goal of our company. We have a relationship in procurement. That way we know what the buyer wants to see it. And then we have a relationship with our end user. So we know from those 3 spokes, if you will, and that's how we make our plans for the future.
All right, so what we're going to do, panelists, is we're going to go to the next question. Larry, I don't know what the question is, but get ready. BK.
Next question, what changes have you made to your business that will be permanent post-COVID? What practices do you think will go back to the way they were pre-COVID? And also, what do you see as vital in your preparation for the next pandemic?
Well, that's a loaded question, and there's a lot there to unpack. You, as Derek said, I think you've got to make a series of assumptions about what the future is going to look like to the best of your ability, doing research and gathering the insights, okay, to kind of, as best as possible, to navigate what you see as the future. From a standpoint, what we did is what I alluded to earlier. We went through what's called the value chain exercise. We laid out the value chain in our industry, and using that value chain, we said, hey, this is where we currently play in the value chain. This is where we currently deliver products and services along the value chain. However, we wanted to slide across the value chain. We wanted to deliver services maybe early on in the value chain or later in the value chain. So we're actually going through this exercise. So I'm not just sitting here telling you something theoretically. And then once you make these decisions of what new products and services that you want to offer along that value chain, then the next thing you have to do is, what are the kinds of resources that you'll need to have in place to be able to deliver those products and services, and then go about developing the strategies to employ those resources, whether you're going to hire FTEs, whether you're going to partner, whether you're going to contract. That is the core of what we're doing, is the value chain exercise, making a determination what the marketplace is going to look like on the other side of this, and then where do we want to expand our business along that value chain.
Got it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is 10:35 and we are out of our time, but we thank you so much for yours. This panel has been awesome. The time has been awesome. And I will turn it back over to our esteemed leader of McPherson, Berry and Associates, Miss Lasagna Berry. Panelists, awesome job. You rock.
Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. Great job. All I can say is, wow, this has been awesome. I'm sitting here and I've gotten already 3 pages of notes. I got some reminders. I got me some new tips and things that I need to do and freshen up. So the key thing that I want to state as we're transitioning, I want to make sure they did a great job to tell you about from a business perspective. They told you about it from a leadership perspective. They told you about it from a personal perspective. I want to bring all of that together for you. As an owner of an HR consulting firm, I can't tell you how important it's going to be for you to have these same conversations, not just with your potential clients, but what are you going to do to develop your people internally, okay? So that they are aware of this, because remember, your organization is only as strong as the people who show up in your business every day. Okay, so again, your organization is only as strong as the people who show up in your organization every day. So as we talk about now, and we're going to shift gears and talk about doing business and talking to our corporate clients, I want to take a few minutes and I want to share a video with you. It was a collective group of MBEs and kind of takes into account, it couldn't have been a better segue to have this video, taking what you just heard from a group of your peers and now watching this video as we get ready to transition and talk to our corporate members.
What do minority business owners really think?
I am a minority business owner. Corporate America, it is time to reckon with the impact of systemic racism and oppression stifling our communities.
It is time.
Corporate America, I am a minority business owner. Minorities spend nearly $4 trillion annually, mostly with your companies. Now it's time to purchase more from us.
The new now
begins today.
I am a minority business owner. Corporate America, make at least 15% of your purchases with minority-owned businesses.
15%
starting now.
Corporate America, I am a minority business owner.
Spread the wealth. Create real impact. Increase the number of minority businesses in your direct supply chain by at least 15%.
Spread the wealth.
Starting today.
I am a minority business owner. Yo tengo una empresa hispana. Show us your numbers, Corporate America. Make public the percentage you spend and the number of minority businesses in your supply chain.
Lead by example right now.
I am a minority business owner. Corporate America, together, we can improve our communities, upgrade our school systems, strengthen our economy, and reduce the racial wealth divide today.
Together, we can
do it now.
Ahora.
wak다비해.
Le grand moment est venu.
이제는 그 시간이 왔습니다.
It is time.
Thank you. So what a great segue into what we're getting ready to talk about right now. And I want to welcome our Fireside Chat is where we're going to begin right now. So with that being said, I want to bring up our first member of the Fireside Chat. We have two corporate members and an MBE representation. So the first person I want to introduce is Mr. Les Mcginley. He is with Atrium Health.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Les Mcginley. I'm with Atrium Health. I am the Vice President of Supplier Diversity. Been in the role for a little under 2 years, been with Atrium for 11 years, been in healthcare for 25 years. I can say without a doubt, this is my most rewarding role that I've been a part of and been in my career. And I look forward to today's session, and I look forward to spending some time and discussing important matters.
Excellent. And then we have with us Mr. Eric Watson with Kaleidoscope Group.
Good morning. Eric Watson, Executive Consultant with Kaleidoscope Group. I think the prior panel was fascinating. I look forward to having a further conversation with you today. Glad to be here.
Wonderful. But last but certainly not least, Ms. Tara Cherry with Dominion Energy. As you can see, we have the women supporting on both ends of this session today. Tara? Uh-oh, you're on mute, Tara.
Thank you, Lasagna. My name is Tara Cherry. I work for Dominion Energy. I'm a supervisor in the supply chain organization, mostly supporting the services. And I'm happy to be here to continue the conversation with you all today.
Wonderful. So far we've talked and heard from the MBEs, and now we're getting ready to hear from the corporate side of the house. So I want to open it up. You've heard the conversations that have happened thus far. We've talked about all of the things that are happening as far as COVID, what's happening with the social justice and injustice that's happening in the country. But now let's shift gears. I want to hear now from our distinguished corporate members of the CVMSDC who are already doing a great impact in the community of MBEs and what they're doing as far as business opportunities. So I want to just open the floor with this general conversation to get started. What is your corporation or what is your company doing to adjust to what's going on right now between the pandemic and what's going on from a social standpoint? I'll start with you, Tara.
All right. Well, I was happy to see your video that you played before this Fireside Chat and the requests for corporate America to engage in 15% with diverse companies. And I'm happy to work for Dominion, who has committed to increasing spend with minority women, veteran hub zone businesses by 20%. That is our commitment and our goal. So I'm very pleased to be a part of that. We are engaging, continuing the conversation with the social unrest, with the COVID-19. Communication is key, and I'm just happy to be a part of a group that recognizes that can engage with every employee to make sure that we keep that conversation going.
All right, Les?
Yes, I've been, very excited about what Atrium Health has been doing, from a COVID perspective as well. I mean, obviously healthcare, there's a lot of PPE that is needed to get through this pandemic. We have been working with minority companies to help us to deliver some of that PPE, which is amazing. A success story that we had about a month ago, we were looking for masks for all of our employees, cloth masks with our logos on it. I reached out to Dominique and she sent me a company out of Durham called I'm With G, very small company. And so I reached out to Greg, who's the owner of the company, and we were able to procure about $500,000 in masks just like that within a 2-week period. So we're serious about this. We understand the impact that it has, and we're going to continue going. So that's just one success story, but we're doing a lot of those type things. As far as social justice, we have our D&I team have done a phenomenal job. Fernando Little, who I work for, our D&I Chief Diversity Officer. We're having courageous conversations where we have 1,500, 2,000 teammates on those calls. And we're really getting down to the nitty gritty of just trying to create a better understanding of how we got here, where we're going, how it impacts people that they work with. And it's just been a phenomenal series. Our president and CEO, Gene Woods, have leaned into these initiatives. He's actually had chats of his own. And I think the conversations have been very healthy. Not everyone gets it, but that's part of the conversation, right? To try to educate as much as possible, and hopefully, I was pleasantly surprised because I was on one of those panels on the courageous conversation. I had a lot of my white colleagues that reached out to me afterward and said, I had no idea. Can we have a further conversation? And I think it starts there. I think that's how we win.
Okay, Eric.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Great video. It was excellent to hear from the MBEs, the challenge that they would put in place. I think the work that's really ahead of us has to do with the work of inclusion. When you think about MBEs, are they included? Are they included in your strategies, but mostly economic strategies? A lot of corporations have committed dollars, committed to make change. There's no better change you can make than an economic. The disparities economically, educationally, health-wise, all foundationally are driven by where people get jobs, have jobs, and how they get opportunities. So I would say working with corporations as a DE&I expert, and also being part of a minority-owned firm, the key is, one, economic inclusion, not just employee inclusion, supply diversity. They both are about inclusion. Who are you included? And more specifically, on a path forward, who do you have as partners, not just relationships? Relationships are people that are transactional. Contracts are great, but who is a partner who you're invested in their long-term stability? Right now in COVID is a great time to say, who are going to be my long-term partners that when we come out of this and whatever the new picture is going to be, they're going to be a part of my organization's success.
Great segue. And you're right, Eric. And everything that everyone said so far has been on point. So we're changing our talk right now from not just talking about spend, but economic impact. With that being said, digging a little deeper within the supply chain, your MBEs, the suppliers that you're using. There's been some discussion, as you just saw in the video, how do we make sure that we're increasing spend with ethnic MBEs? So I want to just take a minute right now to hear from everyone. What are some of the things that you're starting to do differently within your company, in your supply chain, to making sure that you know that you're addressing these things?
I'll start out with, as working for an MBE firm, and think about, engaging either one of these corporations. And I'd say this to MBEs. On the path forward, we have created things like capability statements. We increased our value proposition. What I think we need to, and our CEO talked about this yesterday at an executive meeting, what have we achieved? So when we present to Atrium or Dominion, not just capabilities, but achievements, it puts us in a different place on a path forward. So I think when we look at not best practices, the next practice should be, what am I achieving so that I can align with where the organization is going versus just what am I good at and what have I done?
Oh, good. I like that, Eric. So we need to change those capability statements, not just what we can do, what have we done? Talk about those past performances and align them to what the corporate needs are. So they don't have to try to figure out how you can add value.
Exactly.
Excellent. All right, Les?
I think one of the big things for us this year has been aligning our goals, right? So last year we didn't have goals that were aligned with our purchasing department and our IS department and our facilities department. So now everyone is all in because now everyone has skin in the game. I think to be successful, you have to have aligned goals, because when you think about historically about these types of departments, the leaders in these departments are not minorities, to be quite honest. So they really don't understand so you have to do a lot of education, a lot of development. So we are creating a development program within Atrium Health on supplier diversity, both internally and for our external partners as well. So that's one thing that we're doing. The second thing, like I said, we have aligned goals, and we have a goal built around minority tier 1 spend. That's our corporate goal for supplier diversity, minority tier 1 spend. That's a goal. And then we have a tier 2 goal as well, which is 6, 8, and 10% of the total construction spend. So if you think about our construction spend, just say in 2020, if that denominator is 350 million, then 6, 8, and 10% of that has to be spent with minority businesses. We've done things that we have not done in the past. Moran Builder, a Hispanic construction company, has never done work with us in the past. It's now doing millions of dollars of work with us. McFarland is now doing work with us. I mean, F&K is now doing work with us. So we are changing our strategy. We're changing the way we do business. I'm reporting this not only to our COO, our CEO, and a truncated version of our board. So everyone's paying attention. And I think now is the time to strike, especially while the iron is hot. And so I'm very happy with what we're actually currently doing to help with our MBA spend.
Excellent. Tara.
Hi, yeah, we have similar initiatives. Dominion partners with a lot of advocacy groups, the NBL, the WeBank, the NMSDC, the Maryland Washington Minority Company, for examples. And I love how Eric mentioned strong capability statements. That's key, I think, in our supply chain, recognizing and identifying MBE suppliers, but also understanding what you do and what you can bring to the table. I think that's very important. From a supply chain perspective, being able to identify those companies that can support us in those roles is very key. We have goals to include 3 ethnic diverse companies in every bid package that's over $100,000. So not to exclude them for anything under $100,000, but we figure large value projects are where we want to target that spend and that focus. So those are some of the goals that we continue to do. We also have great alignment supply chain with the diversity program at Dominion. We continue to engage Dallas Simmons, who I'm sure all of you know, is a great network for us. So anybody in my supply chain team, when they have projects come up, they reach out to that diversity team to say, hey, do you know somebody that can provide construction services, civil construction, paving? So continue to do those things is an initiative and something that is striving and helping us meet our goals.
Okay, so what I've heard so far is the fact that you not only got a target of a certain percentage, and you have 15, but you're looking at exceeding that. You guys' target is 20%.
Yes,
and you're
ma'am.
making sure that every opportunity you're including at least 3 minority MBEs.
Yes.
I heard, let's say at Atrium, they've already expanded and they're looking at bringing in not only just with Prime, just with some of their tier 2. And we're going to talk a little bit more about tier 2 coming up, but let's stay on the Prime. You've already expanded and increasing the different number of primes that you're dealing with as well. Did I hear that, Les?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, and like I said, our goals are very, so our tier 1 MBA goal for 2020 is 100% higher than it was in 2019. So we're not trying to inch our way up. We realize that this is a bold time in our country, and we've got to take bold action. So from 2018 to 2019, we increased our tier 1 minority spend by 131%. This year, our goal was right around 100%, and I feel pretty confident that we're going to get there, despite, like someone said earlier, I don't know if you've saw the Washington Post report that 41% of Black businesses have essentially gone out of business during this time. So that's been a challenge, but we're working through that.
Okay, I can almost hear, right, I know my peers that are sitting in as attendees, they want to know, what are you buying? So I heard a little bit about construction. So can you just give us some key things? What are you buying right now? And what are your focus on buying to kind of, not only meeting the needs of your organization, but let's let the MBEs be aware, these are the businesses that you're looking at as you're pivoting and things are changing.
Well, obviously we're buying a lot of PPE right now. So okay. Masks, shields, Clorox wipes, or some, sanitizing wipes, those types of things. That's a part of COVID. We're buying those things, but we're also doing RFPs. We have an RFP out right now, which we do have quite a few minority companies in that RFP for promotional items. I think Tim Catlett might be on the line. I know he's involved in that RFP. So we're making sure that we're being inclusive. Dr. Kinston said earlier about being included. It's like being invited. I always say diversity is kind of being invited to the dance, but inclusion is being asked to dance. So there's a difference, and so we're making sure that we are including those. So we're going to be having an office supply RFP later on this year. So we got a lot of things: transportation, logistics. We're working with IS right now on computer hardware equipment. So we're doing a lot of things right now. We've never had this big of a focus on our minority spend. So. And then we're trying to be creative as well, Lasagna. We're trying to understand, okay, are there creative ways of getting MBE spend? So are there categories that we can just do an RFP with nothing but MBEs if we have enough in that category? So we're trying to figure out, because I can tell you the $1 billion roundtable companies do that. I've spoken with many of them. And that's the only way they're able to get there. But as you know, we always hear the F word when we start doing things like that. Hey, I want it to be fair. Well, it's not fair today. And all of these years that we've not included minorities in our RFP process, it wasn't fair. But as soon as you start talking about doing so, then it's, I want it to be fair. So there are some challenges that we need to get around, but I think our organization is committed to doing the right thing, and I have to lead that effort.
I see Eric. Eric is ready to say something. Go ahead, Eric.
I want to jump in on this fairness thing, because I'm going to come back to this whole topic of inclusion. not only do we have to address, and I applaud the work that all companies are doing in these two organizations around increasing their spend and increasing it, but it's a mindset that we've got to address. And the mindset is those people who actually do the purchasing, are they inclusive in their thinking? And there's some things we need to ask them. So the CEO, unless makes a declaration, what's the declaration of that purchaser or buyer? What's their personal declaration? And then ask them, you know, if this is your declaration, what are you still challenged by? I mean, you know, you've heard about the historical disparities. What are they still challenged by? And then what do they need support in? Because those are the pieces, the mindset and the behaviors that are really the thing that's underground, avoiding this kind of impact we need. So the behaviors and the mindset, and then the other thing I would do is elevate our metrics. I know the spend and the outcome of a contract is great, but I would ask you, what impact does that contract have on the MBE, not just on you? So one, you should be measuring the impact. Your spend does what for you? Because I can tell you, if your spend doesn't do enough business for you, you'll be changing that spend. But what does it do for you? But more importantly, when you give an MBA a contract, what impact is that going to have on their business, especially around sustainability? That's the kind of inclusive mindset we need, not the transactional mindset.
And Eric, I'm glad you mentioned that, because what we're doing this year, and as a part of one of my personal goals, is we're going to be doing that exact same thing. We're going to be directly figuring out, how does this impact our community, our local community, right? So, for example, we are requiring for tier 2 spend, which is just kind of where the rubber meets the road in construction, right? So that's all your subs, your prime. We don't have very many primes that are diverse, but we do have some subs that, you know, do plumbing, electrical, you know, whatever the case may be. So what we're asking them to do is, we're plotting where these MBEs coming from. Number one, what zip codes are they coming from within our local communities, and how many people are they hiring due to the spend that Atrium Health is spending with them. And then of those folks, how many of those folks are now receiving healthcare or being given healthcare insurance? You know, all of these things kind of help with the social determinants of health, right? I mean, are they in food deserts? Are they in the crescent? Are they in poor school districts? Or, you know, all of these things we're trying to understand. And then at the end of the year, we're going to do a report and say, Atrium spent $50 million with minority companies within a certain geographical area. Out of that $50 million, 300 jobs, living wage jobs were hired. Out of those 300, you know, 30% were given health care. And as you come full circle, that'll actually improve the health and well-being of those communities. So it's not just about the spend for us, it's about that connection back to the community as well.
Right.
Excellent, excellent. And Tara, we're not going to leave you out of this. You're in the industry. Look, we all need you as well. So definitely want to give you an opportunity to provide some input on this discussion.
Well, I would echo everything basically that Eric and Les mentioned already. It's not just about the spend. And that's why I think the initiatives of including minority and diverse companies in large value projects is important. And it's not even just about the dollar figure, but those long-term contracts, those 3 and 4 year contracts that create sustainability and stability for those minority businesses is key. So we are definitely on the lookout for opportunities such as that to include minority businesses.
You know, we heard earlier in the other session talking about moving from being transactional to more relational. We've heard the saying, people do business with people who they like and trust. So let's talk about, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about kind of leading into what we were talking about, how it's infiltrated throughout your whole organization, is that relationship building part. We got MBEs that are on the call right now. How do we, what are you doing? What's your viewpoint on that relationship building, that partnership? Because right now as MBEs, we're looking at how do we partner? How do we build capacity to be able to meet the needs of the different corporate requests? So I just want to open it up. What are you doing to kind of help us? Not only we're working on our partnership part, and I hope every MBE that's sitting here today, we're hearing the fact this is echoing. We can't work in silos. We're going to have to partner. But at the same time, we got to work on relationship building. So I want to definitely allow you the opportunity to talk about that.
I'm gonna again give some guidance if I can. When you talk about partnering, one of the things, this is a reality. Corporations, they can't partner with everyone. They got relationships with a lot of vendors. You need to identify who are the true partners. And partners, don't get me wrong, it's like marriage. You can't be married with a multiple people, because the level of commitment is at a high level that you don't have any concern about things like trust. And when we talk about equity in these relationships, and equity is a big topic right now, equity is a promise made and a promise delivered. And when you talk about that, that's a partner, and that's a different kind of, it's a heightened relationship. So I think that as corporations think about going into the partnership relationship, find one or two, could be 4 or 5 people that you truly are going to partner with. And what happens in partnerships, sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm bad. I may make a mistake, but what happens? We don't lose that connectivity and that partnership. It's different than a relationship, and that's the level that we've got to rise to if we want to create some economic wealth on the side of the minority business side.
All right, Les, Tara, either one of you want to say anything about the relationship? Go ahead, Les, I see it.
Well, I think it is very important, and that's one of the key things to a long-standing relationship is that communication, that partnership. And what I find, just my observations being in supply chain, is it shouldn't be a check the box exercise, right? Giving an MBE the opportunity, that's just one step, but developing those things. So what I mean by that is, if that opportunity doesn't work for that MBE, the buck shouldn't stop there. What feedback can you seek to help improve your business? What development ideas can you get? And really just keep it engaging with the supply chain or the diversity team of a corporation. That's key. That's key information. That's valuable information for you to expand and develop your business. That's relationship building. The other thing that I would say is just engaging in things like this, being rubbing elbows with these corporations, having that capacity statement strong and sharing that with other people as you meet and greet. Those are some of the things that I would recommend for MBEs to do.
Well, I'll say this, it's something key that you brought up and I want to stress. From an MBE standpoint, we got to do our due diligence. We understand that. So when we come to the table, we need to be prepared. We need to have done our research. We need to put our best foot forward. I definitely agree with that. So when we show up, we're already at another level in displaying the fact of what we're representing. We're representing our brand. But one of the key things that I've heard you all say is the fact, I want us to just think about this as a unique, different. No, this is for everyone. We all make mistakes. I'm going to stop right there. We all make mistakes. And I understand that sometimes some mistakes are more costly than others. But here's the thing. We got to recover from the mistake. We can't just let it end right there. So I love the fact, Tara, how you shared that if things didn't work out, it is so key, because as an MBE, even in an RFP process, sometimes we don't get that feedback to understand why didn't we get that opportunity. So what you said about giving that feedback, that's all in a part of relationship, which brings that big old seed into this whole conversation, this communication. We got to learn how to communicate, not look at it as transactional, not looking at it as, okay, I'm here for business. What you got for me, Les? I don't want to hear all of that other stuff. I'm just ready to do business. Well, we got to get to know one another. I think, Eric, you said it best. It's almost like a marriage and a partnership. We got to know who's coming and showing up to the table, which means by MBEs, it doesn't happen overnight, but we have to be intentional. Have to be intentional about what we're looking for, which means we got to do our homework. We got to hear from and listen, not just talk, but listen to the feedback and the things that are shared, and then building that cohesiveness there so that when you get in the door, it's not a one-time thing, because you're representing other MBEs.
Yes,
You're not representing your company. You're representing other MBEs and our opportunities to come through the door as well.
Right.
Anything else?
Yeah, and I would just say, that's part of our development program, right? To really try to work with our partners or people that want to be partners, because it's really kind of how you show up, right? I'm a diverse business myself, but I realize that some people show up and they think they know what they want to do until they get there, and then it's like oh, this is what it requires. Oh, I'm not ready for that, or I can't do that. So I think you have to understand your own abilities, especially when you're coming into like a $15 billion organization and saying, you might say, hey, I own a Black-owned cake person. I want to provide all the cakes to Atrium Health. That's great, but we need 20,000 cakes a week. Are you able to do that? You know, I mean, so really understanding that, I mean, and I think that's really important because, you know, during RFP processes, what I've started to notice is some of our MBEs are, they'll say, hey, I want this opportunity, I want an opportunity, I want an opportunity. Then when Brent present the opportunity, then they may not respond to the RFP. Now, is that an education perspective? That's training, development? Yeah, probably a little bit of that. But, and then as a corporation, I have to recognize that, you know, inviting someone to an RFP that only has 2 employees, and those employees out in the field working their business, it's very difficult for them to spend 2 weeks trying to do business with us if they have pretty much a 0% chance of getting that award, right? So what are we doing to help prepare our minority business owners to be successful? I think we've got to do it. We've got to be smarter in the way whether we break out certain RFPs where it's not just this big global thing, and we can say, okay, we're gonna have a section here, a section here, a section here. So we're gonna be able to give people bits and parts and pieces of this. I think that's important as well because we're just not there yet. But, you know, I still think development is the key, and I think we got to do a lot more of that than we have in the past.
And one key thing I want to say about that development, because you're giving a different perspective, Les, it's not just development. Don't get me wrong. We understand we need like I said, the development from an executive level as the owner of your business, attending Tuck, attending Kellogg, Sunoco, those types of programs, but also development as preparing you to do business with them. So not just the internal workings of your business, but what is it that you need to develop to understand your customer and what their needs are, and you being able to deliver on that. Right. Which kind of brings up 2 parts to that. And I don't want us to go too far without going back and talking about that tier 2 aspect, because one way of this development, this capacity building, and, you know, I like to say capacity building, to go couple along with development, building the capacity until you are ready. That may not mean you become a prime, but you also can look at how can you participate as a tier 2. So either one of you, if you would share a little bit about what you're doing with your tier 2 programs, any adjustments you're making in light of all this, what's going on right now. And then after the 2 of you respond, I see Mr. Eric with that pen and he's going, so I'm going to turn it over to him as we talk about tier 2 opportunities. Either one of you, whoever wants to go first.
I mean, Tara, I can go first because that's actually a great question. So what we also are expecting from our primes that are diverse, like the Morans and the McFarlands, is don't get a contract and then go subcontract it out with all non-diverse folks, right? So we have stipulations that just because you're a diverse prime, that we expect you to still do business with other diverse tier 2 companies, right? So we can't forget kind of where we've come from and say, oh, I got this contract, it's worth $3 million. Now I'm going to subcontract it out with everyone that doesn't look like me. That's not going to solve the problem. That's not where the rubber meets the road. That's not helping our communities. That's not doing all of that. So we have stipulations based in our RFPs that state a certain percentage of your spend has to be with different MBEs.
Right.
Likewise, we have similar initiatives and requirements for our RFP packages. Just like Dominion has a corporate goal of 20%, we also require our prime or suppliers that we work with to incorporate 20% of their bid value to diverse companies. And not only is that just a requirement, but it's a scoring evaluation. It's evaluation criteria. So we want to focus our business to companies who are willing to and able to do that. So that's something that's very important in our RFP package. And then increasing that the 3 diverse suppliers for every bid package is another shift and adjustment that we've made. So we've done similar things to Les and Atrium.
Okay. Hey, LaSonia, quick question. I know, Eric, you're dying to jump in, but I just have a point of clarification. You know, during the video, I think I heard the number was $4 trillion that minorities spend in this country every year. Was that accurate? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you know, from the corporate side and from a large organizational side, I just want to say this too: $4 trillion is a lot of money in an economy, and to kind of pare that down even further, you know. Black people, African Americans, spent 1.3 trillion in this economy last year as well, right? And I'm going to throw out some numbers: 600 billion, 700 billion, 8th, and 226. So why do those numbers matter? Well, 1.3 trillion was, you know, African Americans brought to the economy last year. That's 600 billion more than Spain. That's 700 billion more than Mexico. And yet these people have their own countries, their own economic systems, their own governments. So I say that to say, we've been so enamored. I heard someone say this a while ago. We've been so enamored with, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, with civil rights that we forgot about silver rights. We forgot about the economics of this. You know, we could be doing a lot to help each other, and we're not doing that. So that number 8 means, if that's the case, if that's how much money that was contributed, we would be the 8th richest nation in the world as African Americans if we did not live in these United States, right? Out of 226 nations. So I only say that to say $4 trillion for my minority spend. We should not just be depending on the non-diverse organizations for business when we could be spending money with each other. Like I said, I am an African-American business owner. I own a seafood restaurant. I own 4, matter of fact. I own 1 here in Charlotte. Derek Davis has been to my restaurant and supported me. My restaurant is supported by 98% minorities. So I am proof that we can do business with each other and still have an impact. And it doesn't always have to be for us waiting on the court, because at one point we owned our own banks, we owned our own cab companies, we owned all those things. But as soon as someone invited us to their table, guess what we did? We walked away from our own and we went to support others. So I wanted to put that out there because I think that's very important with the large amount of money that minorities spend in this country.
Right.
Yeah, I want to run back and compliment Tara on the work that they're doing. When you talk about MBE's knowledge and ability to be successful, one, their skill, but to be successful in an organization, more than anything, it's going to take the culture. And if you don't know the culture of an organization, you're not going to be successful, whether you're an employee or you're a vendor. So getting an MBE aware of the total organization and the total measure of success, which means they'll have to have some exposure, because no matter how good you are, you just may not be good for this company, and that's okay. But you need to know the companies where what you do fits what they need. And when those two connect, both technically and culturally, there's the ability to have sustainable relationships. And that's why, from a tier 2 standpoint, you give an MBE access to you and your business prior to getting that big contract. And that's the opportunity to grow. So I don't want to, one, omit the fact that MBEs have to do the work, and we have to do the work to know and understand the culture of the business we want to work with, because we can't work with everyone. But also the organizations have to think about, how do I provide access to them to know who we are beyond an RFP or a transactional relationship? In tier 2 is an opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. All right. So based on what you're saying, Eric, is we also have to look at inclusion. The corporations look at inclusion within their organization operations, supporting them and understanding why this is important.
Yeah, and I'll just give you another example, and not to be overly comedic, but if I'm coming to visit you on the first date and I don't do anything but show up, and your dad comes to the door, he's a police officer in a police uniform, I'm probably not as prepared as I would have been had I known your dad was a cop and me being black. So I'm just saying there's certain things you need to know before you get to the door if you want to be successful on that date. And that's the kind of thing, though I say it jokingly, that we can't be haphazard about. And both on the corporate side and on the MB side, we need to know each other. And the more we know each other, and it's known, the longer we'll stay together and do business.
Right. And so I just want to know if the attendees, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. So VK, do we have any specific questions? Because I know we're kind of wrapping up our time, and I want to make sure we leave time for the attendees to ask their questions as well.
Yes, we already have a number of questions that have come in. If you'd like to hear the first one.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, with so many minority businesses closing, what would be your advice to them about partnering with minority organizations to stay in business?
Okay.
Yeah, I would say definitely reach out to, your local chambers, reach out to your local, I know I've been doing a lot of work with like Kevin Price in his new role for the North Carolina Minority Diverse Development Institute, and creating programs and grants and loans and things like that to try to help, because we're going to have to help relaunch some of these organizations, right? So I'm going to be doing a pitch with my organization to donate a certain amount of money for low interest loans for some of these companies so that they can go back into doing business, because a lot of these companies that are gone out of business have been in business for longer than 5 years and they were doing extremely well. But something like this is just, they can do the work clearly, but they just didn't have the resources to sustain themselves. So I would say just partner with those local organizations and see what they offer, because it's a lot of things that they may offer that you may not be aware of.
Right, and I would say too, I just want to give that plug one more time for what NMSDC, and checking also with CVMSDC about the grants that are available, but more importantly, not just on the money aspect, but that gets back to what we were talking about earlier about that relationship building, getting to know your other fellow MBEs, getting to know what the needs of the corporations are, and then starting there to develop those relationships, and developing the cohesiveness with the services or the products that you provide. How can you be an asset to somebody else? But here's the other part to that question about innovation. Now is the prime time to be innovating. We heard Derek Davis say earlier how he's using this time right now to step back and work on your business. Actually working on the business. You may have to pull back on your strategic plan, your vision, and look, what are the needs of organizations as it relates to your industry in the next 10, 15 years? And then who's already out there doing it? Who can be a support to you? Okay.
Next question is, what is the best way to pursue tier 2 status and or connect with tier 1 vendors?
Tara, I'm going to go ahead and let you lead off on that one.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know at Dominion, we have something called Meet the Primes, and more information to come. I'll make sure Dallas shares it with everyone when the details are available, but it's an opportunity where we invite prime, diverse, and sometimes non-diverse suppliers to meet minority subcontracting businesses to engage with business in Dominion. So that is a virtual event that will happen in Q4 of this year. That's one opportunity that Dominion offers to engage subcontracting businesses with primes.
Okay.
Yeah, we do the same thing. We have a group that we've hired, a consulting group called Impact Professional Group. Many of you have probably attended one of their sessions before COVID, but they have a lot of outreach programs as well to invite subs to meet with primes on the professional side, so architecture and those types of things, as well as the construction side. So those are always opportunities. Feel free to reach out, go onto the Atrium Health website and go under supplier diversity, and you will find information on how you can make contact with those groups, and and if not, you can contact me directly, and I can put my information in the chat as well.
So Sonia, that may be an area of heightened accountability as well. I mean, if you've got relationship with primes, they should be partnering with you to the point that lesson Tara's making to not only meet the possible tier 2 candidates, but know them and understanding and be held accountable for making those relationships be more than just a relationship, to actually give them opportunities and contracts.
Okay, all right.
Next question, how do we get opportunities in fields that don't allow for MBE certification, such as insurance and benefits management?
Anyone feel comfortable? Tara?
Well, I don't know if I totally understood the question. It sounded like they're talking about working for an insurance in a financial capacity for an organization. I wasn't quite sure the question, but and I think most of those insurance and investments, there's some licensing, not minority certification, but some licensing. If I understood the question, I wasn't quite clear. But if you have a professional business and you're looking at doing insurance, and maybe that's the question, getting insurance or being part of the benefits package for a corporation, or being part of the insurance that you provide for a corporation. I think that services side, and this is my experience, and then I'll let the experts talk, that services side is one that's not always open. And Lasagna, you know that. A lot of corporations, whether it's talent development, benefits, insurance, a lot of that stuff is held so closely tight to the vest that it doesn't not only get minorities, they find a partner and they stay with the partner. So I'm not sure what Dominion or Atrium is doing, but that's always been a space, professional services, where there has not been as much opportunity. And that may be something to talk about how that happens.
Okay.
All right, we have another question, specifically geared to Les. What is the Tier 1 spend goal for Atrium Health? I heard 6, 8, and 10% for Tier 2, but did not hear the goals for Tier 1.
Yeah, so the Tier 1 goal for us this year in 2020 is $12 million with a stretch goal of $18 million. Those are the actual numbers.
Okay, thank you. And then there's just a comment that says research has shown that negotiators who like each other produce better outcomes than negotiators who do not like each other. This is why building rapport, respect, and trust in negotiations is beneficial. And that is the last question or comment.
Wonderful. I want to take this opportunity to thank my esteemed Fire Chat guests, Mr. Eric Watson with Kaleidoscope, Les Mcginley from Atrium Health, and Tara Cherry with Dominion Energy. This would not have been possible without you. I want to thank you for your transparency and your willingness to share, and better equipped us to do business with you as well. So I am Lasagna Berry, again, your MBEIC chair representing nationally. I'm also the owner of McPherson Berry & Associate HR Consulting. With all that's been said today, MBEs, you've been equipped from your fellow MBEs. You've heard from them and what they're doing on a personal and a professional. And we've also heard from the corporations. We got work to do on both sides of the house. So I want to thank once again my esteemed panelists and guests for the Fireside Chat. I want to thank all of the attendees who participated. Before we wrap up this session, I want to go ahead on now and transition over to hear from our president, Ms. Dominique Milton.
Thank you, Lasagna. That was so powerful. Hearing from our corporate members, hearing from our MBEs about how to reopen is essential. Thank you, Lasagna. Thank you, Dr. Kenson Griffin, for moderating. I want to thank our esteemed panel, our volunteer panel. I always like to make that known because our panel and our corporate members have taken their time out to give you this information. Now, it is so critical that you tune in to CVMSDC on a regular basis to make sure that you're getting these nuggets. I hope that each of you took some valuable points away today. I heard agility. I heard ability to pivot, increase communications with your team, with your customers, driving your value chain, really understanding what your value chain is, being sensitive to your customers and to your employees, building relationships, utilizing new marketing tools, be it social media, pull or push marketing, but really understanding how to maximize marketing at this time. Again, knowledge is power. And if you tune in on a regular basis, you will glean the information that you need to reopen successfully. VK, do you have that slide up that I needed? There are 3 different sessions that we have in terms of webinars that I want you all to be aware of. We have the Straight Talk series with Lasagna Berry, where she talks to buyers to understand how you get engaged in the supply chain. We have Lunch and Learn, where I introduce you to our new corporate members, as well as key stakeholders in the industry to teach you how to engage. And then we have our most popular right now is VCB, the Virtual Capability Briefings, where I interview MBEs and they share with their potential customers their capability statement through video. We're going to have one right after this session with Jedit. We're going to learn how Jedit does business and how they can support their customers. And then most importantly, our ring meetings. As Lasagna said at the very top of the hour, our ring meetings are important. They're like our small work groups. You can roll up your sleeves and be at the table with those customers that you want to do business with. Again, go to cvmsdc.org, click on events, click on our calendar, and you will be able to register for each of the events that we have. I want to bring your attention to our next upcoming major event. Normally we would have BOC at this time. That's our Business Opportunity Conference. We will be having that in August. So what we're doing to pivot is we're having the BOC in combination with our MBE Summit. We'll have one event and we've named it Reemerge, the future of your business. And so you can join us for workshops. We're going to have about 15 workshops to really give you detailed information on how you re-engage and are ready for 2021. We're going to have an awards ceremony. We're going to have general matchmaking. We're actually this year going to have a very specialized matchmaking session that is separate from our normal matchmaking that will be focused on all things construction. We're going to have a live auction, a silent auction, and then, again, the training sessions. And then we have some keynote speakers. Larry Fairley talked about Tuck quite a bit in his presentation. We're going to have one of the professors from Tuck, Dr. Alva Taylor, who will be sharing with you how you make sure your business doesn't become the blockbuster of tomorrow. You need to always be looking at your business, always looking at development so that you can pivot your business and be ready to serve your customers. So please save the date, December 2nd and 3rd. Registration will open soon and it will be on our website. Save the date and we hope to see each of you there. Thank you for joining us today for this session that we had today with our MBEIC chair, and we look forward to seeing you on all of our events in the near future. Thank you so much.